Welcome to the first video in our VBA Excel course, from beginner to advanced. And the best part? It's completely free, shared right here on this YouTube channel. Alright, let's jump into today's lesson. We'll start with the basics of VBA programming. Together, we'll set up the working environment, write our first piece of code, and try out some fun, practical examples. Let's get started. Step 1. Enabling the Developer tab. First, open Excel. If you don't see the Developer tab, no worries, here's how to enable it. 1. Go to File and select Options. 2. Click Customize ribbon and check the box for Developer on the right side. Then, hit OK. You'll now see the Developer tab in the ribbon. Click on it, and then select Visual Basic. A new dialog box will appear. This is the Visual Basic Editor, VB, the command center for writing VBA code. Step 2. Writing your first code. In the Visual Basic Editor, we'll need to create a module to write our code. Go to Insert in the menu bar and select Module. This blank area is where we'll write our code. Let's start with a simple example. In VBA, code is written inside a subroutine, or simply a sub. Think of it as a small program. Let me type this for you. Message box, hello? The message box function creates a message box that displays text. To run this code, click the green Run button in the toolbar. And there you go. A message box pops up saying hello. Now, close it and try running the code using a shortcut. On your keyboard, press F5, and Excel greets you again. If you haven't tried writing this code yet, pause the video and give it a shot. Learning programming starts with typing your first code. Congratulations! You've just written and executed your first VBA code. Step 3. Interacting with Excel objects. Now, let's do something more exciting. VBA can interact with Excel objects, like cells. For example, we'll change the background color of a selected cell. To make it easy to follow, I've split the screen to show both the code editor and Excel. First, I'll add a single quote to comment out the previous code, so it doesn't run. Then, I'll write this new line of code. Selection. Interior.colorIndex equals 3. The number 3 corresponds to the color red. Select any cell in Excel, go back to the code editor, run the code, and watch that cell turn red. Now, select a different cell and run the code again. See? You've just started exploring how VBA works with Excel objects. This is how you can automate formatting for your data. Step 4. Getting the color code of a cell. Let's try another scenario. Suppose you have a green-filled cell in C10. How can we find the color code for this green? Here's what we'll do. Add message box at the beginning of the line. Remove the rest of the code. Now, select a green-filled cell, run the code, and it will display the number 14, the color code for green. You can experiment by selecting different cells, filling them with your favorite colors, and running the VBA code to check their color codes. Isn't that fascinating? Step 5. Saving your VBA-enabled workbook. One critical note. When working with the Visual Basic Editor, always save your file in the Macro-Enabled Workbook format, not the regular Excel format. To do this, 1. Go to File and select Save As. 2. Under Save As type, choose Excel Macro-Enabled Workbook, star.xlsm. If you save it as a standard Excel file, star.xlsx, all the code and modules you've written will be lost. Always ensure your workbook is saved as a macro-enabled workbook to keep your VBA code intact. Step 6. Comments in VBA. One last thing for today. Let's talk about comments in VBA. Comments help explain what each piece of code does. Earlier, we used a single quote to turn a line of code into a comment, right? Comments start with a single quote and are ignored when the code runs. For example, get the color code of the selected cell. Comments are incredibly important, especially as your code becomes more complex. And that's it for our VBA introduction. In just a few minutes, you've set up your environment, written your first code, and learned some useful tips. In the next video, we'll dive into recording macros, a feature useful even for VBA experts. Sometimes you might forget how to perform a task, and recording a macro helps you see how the code is generated. Finally, if you're excited to continue this VBA journey from beginner to advanced, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you won't miss any lessons. See you in the next video.